Hello again, guys. It's Gregola Productions here, back again with another episode of the GPWS.
Talk tick, talk tick.
Well, now it's almost 12 o'clock and I'm here in a stew. Should I stay or go back home? I don't know what to do. One thing that I know for sure, that girl and I are through. Still hearing tick-tock, tick, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick, tick-tock, tick.
Talk tick, talk tick, talk tick.
Tick-tock.
On this episode, we'll be continuing with the Westclox Sphinx, the 53 Sphinx, and I've got some very interesting results for you. So, after leaving it up on the test stand for, I don't know, probably a few weeks, we heard an interesting rattling noise coming from the rotor and stator, and it wasn't pleasant. We were basically back at square one. And I didn't make any new videos on this because I was like, well, I guess I'll fool around with this thing a little bit more and see what happens. So after fumbling around with this thing, and sometimes that's the best way to work on stuff, just to fumble around with it, I added a parts washer off of the Oracle. It was actually, I think it's an exact washer like this one here, except it might be a little bit smaller, but it's one of those washers there. I happened to find one, and I believe it came off the Oracle. I don't know where else it could have come from, and I put it right directly behind the gear here, or directly under it, and then greased the whole thing up. As you can see, it's got blue synthetic grease, and now it runs like a champ. So here's what it sounds like originally. And here's what it sounds like after I added the parts washer, and that ticking in the background is a baby Ben. So now you can see how this thing ran before the washer was there and after the washer was there. And this clock never needed a washer before. But I kind of suspected, and you'll hear in the video, that the gear was scraping up against that brass cullet there. Or the brass, I guess it's a brass, I don't know what you'd call it. You can't see it now, but whatever that is, it was scraping up against it. So yeah, that was that. So we fixed that problem, or at least I hope we have. If it does make a little bit of noise even when it runs today, even in its quote-unquote fixed state, but it's not half of what it was before, and it doesn't seem to slow the rotor down or anything like that. So, and the self-starting function, which didn't work at all before, now works great. And basically everything we wanted out of, like, this is probably as good as it's going to get without me drilling rivets out. Even before I managed to quote-unquote fix this rotor and get the washer in there and everything, there had been a attempt to put this back together, but I must have done it wrong somehow, because there was friction, as I said in the last part. There was friction on the gears and they would not turn smoothly. It was like something was, it was like some gear teeth or something weren't interacting properly with each other. I really have no idea. So I pulled the whole thing back apart again, and then, and then tested this some more. But yeah, I'm not really sure what exactly it was. I don't know if it was the 1974 gear on this that screwed it all up, or I don't know. Anyway, that's why we put this one back on. And yeah, we did mount it on with Gorilla Glue. But that can be easily taken off again. Really, with I think you could probably get it off with the pin punch method. I wouldn't be surprised there. So anyway, we're gonna try and put this back together one more time. But then I realized something else. I have absolutely no idea how this alarm assembly goes back together. I didn't get to see it in its original state because the clock literally fell apart on me. There's this, well, here's the actual setting knob on the back of, there's the knob there. And here's the finger, and then there's a tension, I think it's some sort of tension spring or something that clicks into here. Then you've actually, yeah, so then you've pulled your alarm in, then you can, yeah, so. Anyway, this is the finger that partially operates it. Here's all the alarm stuff over here. In fact, actually, this gear over here is in the wrong spot. There you go, now you can see it. Here's that other gear. Here's our, there are, I don't know what you'd call that, the wheel. Then there's a spring under here. And then there's the gear over here, this brass gear, which gets lifted up when the alarm goes off. See, when it's not on, or when it's not triggered, this spring is down, and this gear isn't interacting with this fiber gear here, which is directly driven off the rotor. So, yeah, I couldn't quite get this back together the right way, and I was kind of wondering, well, what the heck? What am I supposed to do here? It's not like, OK Bridges just uploaded a parts manual from 1956, literally showing this movement here, link in description. No, I actually didn't look at his, actually, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, a YouTuber who constantly comments here, and I thank him very much for it, Oklahoma Bridges, known as OK Bridges. He uploaded a Westclox 1956 parts manual, and he went through the entire thing in one video, and it was fairly in-depth too. It was good. And there was a electric clock movement. Of course, this is from 53, that movement's from 56, and there were no real changes between 56 and 53, except for the Sphinx not actually being in the manual, but this movement is still the same. And if you don't believe me on that front, check something else out. Who in the audience can identify what model that clock over there is, huh? Who can figure it out? Well, I'm not going to keep you guessing all day. This is a case for a Westclox Logan. I got it for $12 at an antique, actually right before there was a massive COVID shutdown. I got I went to the last local flea market of 2020, and I got this clock for $12. Now, I took it home, and I thought that was kind of a steal, really, because these Westclox Logans can be pretty expensive. I know retail prices go all over the place. And keep in mind, that's $12 Canadian, and originally, I know, that's 15. This is Canadian pricing here. Anyway, yeah, these clocks can be fairly expensive when running, and this one looked in fairly kind of iffy shape. So here's our movement, folks, and guess what? The movement's from 1956, 1953, oh, it's not even on this plate, and in this case, this is from January of 1949, so this is a 72-year-old Logan here, and yeah, the movement is almost the same. The stator is a little different. We've got a different design here. I know I put the time setting knobs on. These actually are, this is a better design. These just unscrew. This is a decent clock here, except there's one problem with it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the stator coil is ruined. I am getting absolutely no electrical response out of this clock. I've tried to get it to start. It won't start. I've performed methods on the Sphinx, aka electrical taping a lamp cord to the Sphinx coils. That's how it was jerry-rigged together, as everyone knows. I did the same thing over here. Maybe this cord somehow got in the way, but I doubt it. I mean, it's in pretty rough shape, but it should be good enough to actually operate. And I'm actually going to get a piece of cardboard here so I don't ruin that flag at the front there. So yeah, this cord is in rough shape, but you'd think there'd be at least some sort of electrical response out of this. And there's the original cloth insulated, actually I don't know if it's cloth. It's definitely, I know this would definitely fit the Heiko strain reliever, I can tell you that much. So yeah, this clock is totally dead. And it's worth its weight in gold though, because this is all parts. All of these pieces here are all suited for another Logan, which will probably may or may not need them. It's a shame that this had to happen to a Logan, because I know these are fairly decent clocks. Well, I guess they're like the Sphinx, aren't they? In more ways than one. I mean, this is literally the same exact front plate. This gear here is on the Sphinx, so is that one. The flag is the same, except for the color of the dial. You know, because they give you a beige on that one, the other one's green. You know, like there's some differences here, but it's more or less the same. The alarm mechanism is the exact same, just about. You can see how this works. Actually, well, we all can, can't we? So we can simply just use this clock as a template to put that one back together, because this is so similar. And as you can see, interestingly enough, they've given you only two little riveted on, I don't know what you'd call those, some kind of wheels there. They only give you two here, while in the budget version they give you three. I don't know. little differences in the movement here. But yeah, they're basically pretty close enough to compare them and probably interchange parts, although I'm not going to be taking this one apart just yet, because I want to actually get the alarm mechanism right. And yeah, that'd be great. Someone along the line here is going to want to see how one of these is. Let's just pay attention to the alarm spring for a second. You've got that same exact, first of all, you've got this same exact spring, this whole assembly here. I had some trouble on mine. I couldn't get the finger, and yes, it does have the finger. I couldn't get the finger to interact with these holes properly. It kept getting stuck, or it wouldn't go in right or something, so I don't know what I was doing wrong. But anyway, at least now we get to see what this looked like before, because that one over there literally just fell apart as I was taking it out of the case. So that was the end of that. So as you can see, there's the finger on the Sphinx, so it's except it's just on the bell. And the finger here, they've put it on this, they actually give you a top plate, which is nice. So they've got the finger in there, or riveted through, or whatever they did. Anyway, so you got it here. Okay, it goes along. There's the, I guess you could call this the alarm hammer assembly here. Then you've got a fiber gear, which is interesting. They didn't give you that here. They gave you an actual brass one. And then there's the finger that goes in the, of course, it goes over into this hole here, and then it goes, and there's a notch in this, oh, maybe you can't see. There's a notch in this gear here. The finger goes through the notch, and then it goes in the hole, in the, oh, same hole. And it goes over top of the alarm tension spring, which is over here. So it goes over top of this spring here. And then, of course, you got the same exact setting wheel. Okay, let's say it's like 7 a.m. in June of 1952 or something. Okay, oh, whoops, here, I gotta do that again. And let's make sure it's actually set. Oh, and by the way, when it's set, this finger lifts up, and notice how it's not on the spring anymore. But the spring is still being held down. It's being held down by the tension created by this finger here, pushing this gear down, if that makes any sense at all. So let's say, okay, it's time to get up. I keep turning the knob the wrong way. Okay, this would not move like this at all. Let's just say the clock is running. Okay, it's just hit 7 o'clock now. So suddenly this spring lifts up. It lifts this gear up, which interacts with this gear here, and suddenly it's being driven directly off of the rotor through this gear here, because the rotor would be over here somewhere. Then it starts turning this gear, which turns this gear, which turns this gear, and in also this case, this gear here. I hope this makes some degree of sense, viewers. So really, I didn't know if the finger went over top or down below, because I couldn't really see how it went together originally. So now we can. It's always great to have doubles of these clocks and watches because you can look back at other ones just to see how assemblies like that went. So I hope that maybe helped somebody. Let's just see how the rest of this is. Let's come around this way. Oh, there's this wheel. That looks very familiar. Oh yeah, and this just, there you go. You set the time and everything there. Same exact kind of tower of gears here. It's mostly just the alarm that I find is really the quote-unquote complicated part of this. And they give you, and this is a much better strain reliever than anything by Heiko here. It's a full-on piece of bent, I think it's, I don't know if it's, is this aluminum? I don't think it is. Whatever this is bent. You've literally got a screw here. You can undo this and do it up again at will. So that's better than any Heiko strain reliever. And by the way, we're probably going to have to modify the Heiko strain reliever to even get it to work at all with any of this, but more on that later. I've rambled on about enough nonsense here today. So viewers, that is the movement comparison between these two clocks. And as for the case here, I've just put it together to some extent. I've just screwed it together there. I threw the face in there and I threw the glass in there so nothing would get lost. And I know where all the screws are and everything. Those are in a parts cup. So viewers, I know we didn't really get anything particularly done here today. I know that this Sphinx series seems to be a lot of talking, doesn't it? This isn't your typical alarm clock. And taking a second to actually understand what's going on is pretty beneficial, or at least it's been beneficial to me anyway. So I've learned quite a bit from just looking at this movement here and seeing how similar they really are. Now I'm going to technically end the video off right here. So if you came to see the Sphinx, the show is over, but there's something else I want to show you as well. And this stems from getting the Westclox Electric book by Jim Lins for Christmas. So that's great that I actually got it. Although there was a brief scare there about the printing of the book. We weren't sure if the book was actually still in print, but we ordered it from my local bookstore, and it came 2 days before Christmas. So my recommendation to you viewers is if you want the Westclox Electric book by Jim Lins, then get it now, or the Westclox Wind-Up book by Jim Lins. I'd recommend getting it now. Although there are no real repair diagrams or anything. If you just want to know all the models and what they look like, and you might get a few pictures of the movements, and that's for both Wind-Up and Electric, then that's the book you're gonna want to get. And also there's a whole bunch of information about Westclox itself, the company and who ran it and all the people involved. But if you're looking for a bunch of repair diagrams or whatever, that's not the book for you. If you're looking for all the models, which that is something I wanted to get, then yeah, that's the book for you. But it's not really it's not a repair manual in any way, shape, or form. Now, what does the Westclox Electric book have to do with the Sphinx, the Logan, and the award? Hello! Well, I must admit, I was looking at the retail prices for these, and a Westclox award, which this one's in crap shape, one in working condition can be worth about $50. And keep in mind, this is like, well, first of all, the currency is American, and this is also like 2005 is when these books were published. So, so I don't know, this clock I will definitely never get $50, $60 for this. I don't know, I can't remember what the Logan was. The Sphinx was up there as well in price, but I was surprised something like the award, which I thought would at least be from the mid-60s, would be something like $50. I paid $5 for this, so that's probably more like what I'm gonna get. And I know everyone and their dog spotted this beauty in the background there. Yeah, don't any of you mind that. Despite its tackiness and whatever you want to call that, it actually has a fairly decent quartz movement in it. That is at least 10 years old, that clock there. And I'm not gonna say how I came into possession of that, but anyway, if I found another one, I think I'd pass it up. And it actually turns out, upon looking at the Westclox electric book, that these were introduced in 1959, which is quite amazing. I would never have guessed that this would be from 59. I would guess that the Sphinx is from 59, not this. I thought this would at least be from 65 because of the square dial and everything. I mean, the case kind of, and yes, that is mahogany. That says mahogany on the bottom. You know, you'd think this would, I guess I can see some mid-century modern aesthetics happening here. It's got the same exact back that the Sphinx has. But yeah, this here just kills it, eh? That's kind of, I don't know. These were introduced in 1959, and I think they were discontinued in like 62 or something. So I'm not. It's quite strange, really. This clock quite literally is ahead of its time, style-wise, by about 8 years. So anyway, the movement on this clock, the stator and the rotor assembly, as you can see, they give you a brass. I guess it's a brass ring. Unlike unlike what they did in the 70s, which is just a I don't know what metal these are entirely. Anyway, this works fine. It spins great. It has a buzzer alarm. The alarm assembly is completely different on this one, and the buzzer hardly works. So I don't know. Here's another alarm assembly I don't understand. You've got your buzzer, whatever you want to call this sort of finger thing here that rubs up against this plate here, which goes directly into the stator, I think. And then it keys into that gear there, which is the alarm setter. And by the way, the alarm setter actually doesn't work on this. Yes, this gear here, which the Sphinx has one of these as well, but you've got this gear which is supposed to interact with the alarm setting wheel, but it doesn't, because it doesn't go down far enough, and I don't know what the heck happened to this clock, but for some reason this knob is quite useless. You can pull it up and set the time, but that's about all you can do. And I don't know if the luminous numbers there, I don't know if those still work. They probably don't. So yeah, oh. Well, apparently we've been playing around with this enough to pull the crystal right off. Yes, this is plastic. I didn't know this just popped right out. That was that was completely unintentional, viewers. What the heck happened here? Whoa! Thought it was plugged in there for a second. Oh, this just clicks in. Well, I hope there's no serious. Okay, that's note to everyone who works on these things. This isn't supposed to just happen like that, okay? Yeah, this is a fairly cheaper offering by Westclox, and I'm trying to find a date stamp on this thing, and the only thing I can even remotely find is there's a little 61 right there. There's a tiny little 61, and I think that's a date stamp. But I don't know. I haven't seen anything else. I think it's just 61, and that this is from 1961. Man, you'd think if it was from 61, you'd think it looked like the Sphinx, not this. I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, 61 crystals are coming off and whatever. Apparently we're going super square or something. I don't know what's going on. Our alarm setter wheel doesn't work for some reason. It won't go in farther. This knob here is that's probably stamped on somehow. Oh, that just looks like a nightmare to get off. It goes in here. I see there's a washer here. Okay. Then there's whatever this is here. This probably needs to come off. Or however it is, it probably is somehow messed up because this doesn't reach down far enough to turn the gear there. And it won't set the alarm. And the buzzer is having a... I don't know what's wrong with the buzzer on this thing. I don't know if it runs... I don't know how this really works. Maybe let's follow it, hey? I don't know. It gets triggered by the alarm setting wheel over, or the alarm wheel over here, and then somehow, I don't know what the heck happens up here. I don't know why it's only working a little bit. Maybe I should plug it in. And just to demonstrate to you what exactly is going on, here's the actual clock running. Oh, better not get electrocuted because the wire nuts there. They seem fairly secure. Let's just try and get the alarm to trip, shall we? We've got our alarm knob up. I'll try and get it to go off here. So you guys know what a buzzer sounds like, or a buzzer alarm like this sounds like. Oh great, nothing. Oh, there we go, there's something. That's all I can get out of this thing. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Who knows, maybe this is because of lack of lubrication. Maybe the oil and everything is just all dry in here. So anyways, viewers, that is the, whatever you want to call this, the Sphinx part 4, I think we're on now, with the additional Westclox award and the Logan added to the series here, sort of. The award will probably get its own series at some point, but for now, we're just going to leave it. So anyways, viewers, we're going to focus on comparing this clock to this clock more as time goes on, as the series goes on. And yeah, we'll leave this all here for now, viewers. Thank you for sticking around through whatever this is.